Hello, thanks for joining us today. My name is Andrew Kallman, and we're going to walk through an introduction to flow and hopefully help you understand by the end what's in it for you, what's in it for your teams, what's in it for your product development, program management, process management, line management, and ultimately what's in it for your portfolio and leadership for your organization. As with all of our other books, presentations, videos, and so on, including this one, they are all covered by a Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives 4.0 international license. So feel free to use these with attribution. That means that you include the copyright that's at the bottom, plus add the following phrase, used with permission. If you guys can do that for us, it'd be greatly appreciated. And let us know if you're using Flow and how it has worked for you. Flow is something that I've been working with for a long time. The inspiration of flow is that it's based on observed human nature and recorded human wisdom and history that spans around the last 3,500 years. So the same timeless source that gave us the foundation of the Judeo-Christian worth ethic is also the same for flow. So that means that the flow frameworks, models, mindset just aren't empty theory or words, or in Greek, logos, that sit there on a page, but rather these are action-packed words, or rhema in Greek means word in action. And these words can breathe life into the unlikeliest of teams, projects, processes, programs, portfolios, products, even organizations. In fact, one time, about two decades ago, Ted and I were presenting Flow to a vendor, to one of our customers, and they happened to be from Israel. The team lead for that group was a lieutenant colonel in the special forces for the Israeli Defense Forces. He literally came up out of his chair when we shared our version of VSPT, pounded his fist on the table, and demanded to know, where did you get that? Ted and I looked at him and we said, same place you got it. And he thought for a second, he sat down. And so if the models and frameworks that we're using are at that level, where you would invoke that kind of reaction out of a military leader demanding to know, hey, where'd you get that? We use that. That's exactly what we use for our elite teams for their leadership training. And then they use that with their teams. So we thought that was pretty cool. As I mentioned in the previous slide, I've been working with honing and distilling flow for the last 25 years. And the great thing about it is that it is duplicatable. And this isn't just smoke and mirrors. This is based on 25 years of gathered evidence from real-world fires of projects, programs, product development and management, portfolio governance, and even from organizational and executive leadership. Many, many others have replicated the same remarkable results that Flow delivers using Flow themselves. So, if I'm getting a little bit excited about those results, then I would think that that would be a good thing. About 30 years ago, well, actually almost 40 years ago, I was taught that in the word enthusiasm, the last 4 letters are an acronym for I am sold myself. Who would you rather work with? A trainer, coach, and mentor that might say, yeah, it might work, experiment with it. If it works, let me know. Or would you want somebody that had the confidence to look you straight in the eye and say, this works? That's the level of confidence we want to transfer to you. And as you experience the same awesome results that we've seen over and over again, just like me, you want to share those great results. Especially, it's really neat to watch teams pick this up, pick up the torch, and run with it. So I guess my point is who would you rather work with? Wouldn't you really want to work with a trainer, coach, and mentor that is actually sold? Or would you want to work with somebody who isn't really sold? Okay. And so because of that, it can be, or it might feel like, that a lot of our materials are very sales and marketing oriented, but it's actually, we want to transfer the confidence that we have in what we do to you. As I mentioned on the previous slide, a lot of times it sounds like, or it could sound like, that our materials are very sales and marketing oriented, where we're trying to sell you something. And in reality, what we're trying to do is transfer the confidence to you. And so I have to admit that, when I've worked with something for so long that works as well as this does, you're just going to have to forgive me if the flow training, coaching, and mentoring materials end up feeling like sales and marketing pitch. But I guess I would challenge that view and say, well, hold on just a second. Did you know and are you aware that all, and I mean all, of our materials are available either in book, video, or PowerPoint format out there on the net? All of it. And it's all covered by, as I mentioned in one of the previous slides, it's all covered by a Creative Commons no derivative license. So if everything's out there available free, what is it exactly then that you feel like I'm trying to sell you? So please forgive me if it sounds like sales and marketing. I'm a victim of my upbringing. I have an MBA in marketing. The reality is I want you, when you're done with going through all the courses and using flow in your daily work, to be as confident as me and all of the other flow certified professionals, flow certified coaches, and flow certified trainers that are out there using flow every day. So basically, I want you to be equally inspired and enthusiastic. And if you're not equally interested in being inspired or becoming more enthusiastic in the results that you deliver in your work every day, then the wisdom shared in all the flow materials might not be for you. Okay, I get that. That's okay. And I also understand that this might be a cultural difference too, because flow itself does cut across culture. Okay, the models, the frameworks, the mindset, the tools, everything, it all cuts across culture because we've used flow successfully in North America, in Europe, in North Africa, the Middle East, Russia, Asia. It works. It works in multiple cultures and various business cultures too. So you'll have to forgive me. The American half of me comes out every now and then. And every now and then the Finnish or the Finn-Swedish half of me comes out as well. And so just keep these things in mind as you're going through flow that this isn't just something that we've pulled out of our sleeves. It's not just sales and marketing material, although a lot of it can feel that way. But ultimately, our goal is to transfer the confidence we have in flow to you. The origin of flow spans almost 5 decades, but flow itself, where it was first distilled into a framework and models that could be duplicated and reused, that really began in 1995 to 1997 with a project on which Ted, my brother Dan, and myself and a whole bunch of other people were working on delivering that project, and the results of that project that were audited by the customer's internal auditing team from finance. So completely other team outside of our team came in and said, yeah, the results of this project first year after launch were $29.6 million net. I mean, that's like as if we had increased their sales by hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay? So that's when we sat back, did a retrospective, and said, oh my goodness, we've got something that flat out works. Okay? Now, a little bit more history lesson here. The original spark for flow was something that Ted called the model that he learned at college way back in 1972. And from that, he got the one language, one mind, one plan framework or model. And he called it simply the model. Okay? And that was from 72. About 10 years later, in 83, or somewhere between 80 and 83, I picked up the first 3 R's of the 4R model when I was studying at the university. And I added the 4th model, or the 4th R, to the 4R model in the mid-90s. Okay. Also, the other day I was sorting through some drawers and looking at papers, and I ran across a handwritten copy of the 4D model from 1999, 21 years ago. And by the way, the 4R model, the right truth, right values, attitudes, right actions, right results, is actually the predecessor to the 4D model. The 4R model is what we would use to work with the individual, or it's what I still use to work with individuals, while the 4D model is what I would use to work with teams. It's define, distill, deliver, and drive. So those 2 models are mirror images of themselves, stated in slightly different ways, one to be used with individuals and one to be used with teams. Now the VSPT model that I mentioned earlier, that was the original version, was actually from the early 90s. It was used by Newt Gingrich to power his Republican Revolution. After Bill Clinton got elected in 92, Newt Gingrich took over the House and the Senate in the Congress, both houses. He took them over using VSPT, which came from, at that point in time, West Point Military Academy. And it was vision, strategy, projects, and tactics in that form. As we applied that to the Steelcase project in 95, which is in our book, it's one of the case studies in Flow. As we applied VSPT to that, my observation was, as well, the P and T don't actually match to what we're doing here. In reality, when you're working with projects, the key thing in every project is having the right people. And so I switched the VSPT to vision, strategy, people, and tasks. What is it that the people are doing? Because if you have the right people doing the right things at the right time, hopefully in the right way, you should get the right results, right? Okay, so that was a change that I made in the mid-90s after working with the Steelcase project. So we distilled it into its current form back then, and it's been that way ever since. Now, we started using flow around the name flow around 2013, 2014. It was really an acronym that I came up with that stood for Focus-Led Organization. And it just sort of FLO, just sort of in caps, looked sort of funny. So over time, it morphed into just the word flow. And then the title of our book, Get Everyone Moving in the Right Direction and Loving It, also came out a few years later when we published Flow. But the first group of Flow certified professionals trained in Stockholm, Sweden was done back in the spring of 2014. By the way, Flow has been known by a number of names, and a few of those include the Unified Vision Framework, the VSBT model, and the Simply WAL model. So it's had a few names down through the last couple of decades, but for more than the last 5 years, it's been known as Flow. In my book Flow, in Chapter 1, I defined flow as the state of optimal performance achieved by applying a clear, consistent, persistent, and unified vision at all levels of an organization. And on the next slide, you're going to see that we simplified that. And as with all visions and definitions, this is continually evolving and transforming into a more concise and better definition as we move along. By chapter 9 in my book, I shortened the definition to the optimal state of high performance. And so what happens is flow enables you to achieve and sustain higher levels of performance individually, as a team, and as an organization. And so if you look at the green text that I have here in the bullet point, achieve and sustain higher levels of performance, that's basically the vision for Flow to help you do that. Our mission is teaching you the what and the how and helping you duplicate the results. And our purpose and higher purpose is that we pursue excellence and we like to help others do the same. And so that's basically the goal of Flow. If you've watched some of the other presentations that I've done and recorded and shared on YouTube, you'll notice that this is a new slide. I expanded the definition to include that Flow includes the mindset and tool set that you need in order to take whatever you're doing and make it even better. So it includes leadership models and leadership frameworks in Flow. And we're going to look at a couple of those today in this presentation. Now, something that I really want to hammer home is Flow is methodology agnostic. It's easy to integrate into whatever other methodologies, frameworks you may already be using, like Agile, Scrum, Change Management, Traditional Waterfall, Agile PMOs, SAFe, which is Scaled Agile Framework, or Agile Portfolio Management, or whatever you're doing. Whatever leadership style you have, or the strategies that you use as a leader in order to lead and motivate your teams, understand that Flow helps all of these different things play nice together, as one of the early participants in the Flow training mentioned about 4 or 5 years ago. And so just keep in mind, Flow is methodology agnostic, but it will help whatever you're doing achieve higher and better results.